Have you ever gotten a raise and somehow felt like you had the same amount of money as before? Maybe your salary went up, your job got better, you started earning more. But a few months later, the extra money seemed to disappear. A slightly nicer apartment, more meals out, a newer phone, a few subscriptions, a little more spending because, well, you can afford it now. And strangely, your financial life doesn't feel dramatically different. There's a reason for this. Your brain is remarkably good at turning improvements into the new normal. And that's why one of the most powerful wealth-building habits is also one of the least exciting. It doesn't look impressive, it doesn't make for a great social media post, and nobody congratulates you for doing it. But over years, it can quietly change your financial life. That habit is simple. Keep a portion of your income before your lifestyle finds a way to spend it. To understand why that matters, consider Andrew. Andrew is 29. He lives in a major American city and works a respectable professional job. He's not irresponsible with money. At least that's how he sees it. He pays his bills, he contributes to his retirement plan, he doesn't have a luxury car, he isn't buying designer clothes every weekend. He's simply trying to enjoy his life. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. After years of school, long hours, and starting at the bottom, Andrew believes he has earned the right to enjoy the money he makes. Then he gets a raise. His annual income increases by several $1,000s. For the first few weeks, he feels different. He thinks, finally, I'm getting ahead. But life adjusts. His rent increases. He starts ordering delivery a little more often. He upgrades a few things. He takes a better vacation. He tells himself he's still being reasonable. And he probably is. That's the uncomfortable part. There isn't one giant mistake. There isn't one reckless purchase destroying his future. It's dozens of perfectly understandable decisions. And that's how people can earn more money without becoming significantly wealthier.
Economists and behavioral researchers have long observed a version of this phenomenon. People tend to adapt to changes in their circumstances. When income rises, spending often rises with it. Not necessarily because people become careless, because their definition of normal changes. The $5 coffee that once felt unnecessary becomes routine. The apartment that once seemed expensive becomes reasonable. The convenience that once felt like a luxury becomes part of everyday life. This is sometimes called lifestyle inflation, but there's a deeper psychological mechanism underneath it. We experience spending immediately. We experience the apartment today, the restaurant tonight, the vacation next month. Saving, on the other hand, asks you to give something up now for a future version of yourself you've never met. And the human brain tends to place more emotional weight on immediate rewards than distant ones. That's why telling yourself, "I'll save whatever is left at the end of the month," sounds responsible, but it often fails, because there's always something left to spend. Andrew starts noticing something strange. Every month, his paycheck arrives. Every month, his bills get paid. Every month, he spends what feels reasonable, and every month, he tells himself he'll save more next month. Then something happens. His car needs a repair. A friend gets married. His health insurance bill changes. He needs a new laptop for work. Nothing catastrophic, just life. His savings account takes another hit. Andrew isn't broke, but he doesn't feel secure either. And that's a very different problem. He has income, he has a career, he has options, but those options depend heavily on his next paycheck. Then one evening, Andrew looks at his bank account and realizes something uncomfortable. His income has increased substantially since he started working, but his financial breathing room hasn't increased nearly as much. He expected earning more to make him feel wealthier. Instead, he simply became accustomed to spending more. And this is where the story gets interesting, because the problem isn't necessarily Andrew's income, it's the order in which he makes financial decisions.
Most people think about money in this order: earn, spend, pay bills, and hopefully save what's left. But wealth building often works better when the order is reversed: earn, set aside something for the future, then live on what's left. The difference sounds almost trivial. Psychologically, it isn't. When money sits in your checking account, your brain tends to treat it as available.
A larger balance can quietly create permission to spend, and the more you earn, the larger that permission can become. This creates an interesting trap. You don't necessarily spend because you need something. Sometimes you spend because the money is there. Then there's another psychological effect: social comparison. You don't compare your life to the person who has less. You often compare it to the people around you who appear to have more. Your coworker gets a newer car. Your friend moves into a nicer apartment. Someone you went to college with starts a business. Suddenly, your perfectly acceptable lifestyle feels like you're falling behind. So you upgrade. Not because your old life stopped working, but because your reference point changed. And here's the problem. If every increase in income produces an increase in lifestyle, your financial progress can remain surprisingly small. That's why the boring habit matters. It's not simply about saving money. It's about creating a gap between what you earn and what you automatically allow yourself to spend. That gap is where financial flexibility begins. Now meet Olivia. She's 30. She earns a similar income to Andrew. She likes good restaurants, she travels, she buys things she enjoys. She's not living like a monk. The difference is almost invisible. When Olivia gets paid, a predetermined portion of her income is automatically moved toward her future goals. She doesn't wait until the end of the month. She doesn't make the decision every Friday. She doesn't ask herself, do I feel like saving this month? The decision has already been made. And because the money isn't sitting in the account she uses for everyday spending, she naturally adapts to what's available. Some months are easier. Some months aren't. Sometimes she spends more than expected. But the habit continues. Then Olivia gets a raise. Here's the important part. She doesn't immediately treat the entire raise as additional spending money. She allows some of it to improve her lifestyle, but some continues moving toward her future. It's not dramatic. Nobody notices. Her friends don't know. Her coworkers don't care. There is no exciting screenshot to post. But something important is happening. Olivia is gradually increasing the amount of money working on behalf of her future self. And she's doing it without needing extraordinary discipline every single day. This is the part many people miss. Wealth isn't just about knowing what to do. It's about reducing the number of times you have to make the decision. Think about how many financial decisions you make in a typical week. Should I order dinner? Should I buy this? Can I afford this? Should I save more? Should I invest? Should I pay down debt? Should I take the trip? Should I upgrade? Decision after decision. Eventually, mental fatigue sets in, and when you're tired, stressed, or emotional, the easiest choice often wins. Automation changes the equation. Instead of depending entirely on motivation, you create a system that makes the desired behavior easier. It's similar to other habits. You don't become healthy because you occasionally feel inspired to exercise. You become healthier because certain behaviors become part of your routine. Money works in much the same way. The goal isn't to become obsessed with every dollar. The goal is to make one good decision repeatedly. And there's something else happening. You begin to normalize living below your maximum spending capacity. That may be one of the most valuable financial habits a young professional can develop. Because if you always need every dollar you earn to maintain your lifestyle, then earning more doesn't necessarily make you more free. It simply makes your lifestyle more expensive. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine tomorrow you received a 20% raise, but nobody told you. Your employer simply increased your automatic savings by that same amount. Your paycheck feels exactly the same. Your lifestyle stays roughly the same, but your future is receiving more money. Now, reverse the experiment. Imagine your salary stays exactly the same, but your monthly expenses increase by 20%. Same person, same job, same income, completely different financial trajectory. So maybe the question isn't, how much money do I make? Maybe the more revealing question is, how much of the money I make actually stays available for my future? Because income tells you what enters your life. Your habits determine what remains. Fast forward 10 years.
Andrew is 39. He's earning considerably more than he did at 29. His apartment is nicer, his car is newer, his vacations are better. His lifestyle has improved. But whenever an unexpected expense appears, it still creates stress. He has spent a decade increasing his standard of living, but he hasn't increased his financial margin at the same pace. Olivia is also 39. Her life isn't perfect. She's made mistakes, she's had expensive months, she's changed jobs, she's dealt with unexpected expenses too. But she has something Andrew doesn't have to the same degree: options. She has more room to make decisions. If she wants to change careers, she has more flexibility. If an opportunity appears, she can consider it. If life throws her an expensive surprise, it doesn't automatically become a crisis. And perhaps most importantly, she doesn't need to make every decision based on her next paycheck. That's what wealth can quietly create. Not necessarily a mansion, not necessarily a sports car, not necessarily a life that looks impressive from the outside. Room. Room to breathe. Room to change direction. Room to say no. Room to take a calculated opportunity. Room to handle life without everything becoming an emergency. That's the part of wealth that rarely gets photographed. So what should you take from Andrew and Olivia? Not that you should stop enjoying your money, not that every dollar should be saved, and certainly not that there is one perfect percentage everyone should follow. The more useful lesson is simpler. Don't make your future compete with your present for whatever happens to be left over. Give your future a place in your financial life before your lifestyle makes the decision for you. For some people, that may mean automatically directing part of each paycheck towards savings. For others, it may mean investing consistently, reducing expensive debt, or building a financial cushion. The specific strategy depends on your situation, but the psychological shift is the same. Stop asking, "How much can I spend?" and start asking, "How much of what I earn do I want my future self to keep?" Because the most important financial habit may not be the one that makes you feel richer today. It may be the one that quietly makes tomorrow easier. The money that changes your future is often the money you stop noticing in your present. It's boring, it's quiet, and that's exactly why so many people overlook it. So here's the question worth sitting with. If your income stayed exactly the same for the next 5 years, would your current financial habits make your life more flexible or simply more expensive? Because maybe building wealth isn't always about finding the next big opportunity. Sometimes it's about keeping a small promise to your future self over and over again. If you enjoy real money stories and practical wealth building lessons, subscribe to Wealth Rich. Learn from the stories, apply the lessons, build your wealth.